Hey everybody, Joe Vanourney, Cherry the Geek TV. We are here at the 20th Annual Omaha Film Festival with Steven Grayhm, who is the writer, director, producer, and star of a fantastic new movie called Sheepdog, which has made its way to the festival tonight. Welcome to Omaha.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Give people kind of a quick overview of the story of Sheepdog.
So Sheepdog follows a decorated combat veteran who is treatment adverse. He's sent into, court-ordered into a program, and at the same time, his father-in-law, who's just been released from prison, shows up on his doorstep. The film is the first film from my generation that truly explores the physical and psychological repercussions of combat with a focus on post-traumatic growth. And it's a really interesting time right now because we're finding that the post-pandemic zeitgeist very much so is about healing and recovery and certainly overcoming. And so it's been a thrill to see the audience reaction. It's been so gratifying, especially our Vietnam veterans, mental health workers, Gold Star family members, first responders. So
now, it's an interesting journey to get this film made. Started almost, over 13 years ago.
Sure did.
Tell people kind of the genesis. What was the spark that kind of led you down this path?
All right. Well, first I'll say the spark is my grandfather was a POW of the Second World War. He was a Polish farmer who was held hostage for 5 years and then suffered torture and every kind of horrible, dehumanizing thing you can possibly go through. And I grew up with his stories. And so that was initially like my dog in the fight because he remembers the American troops liberating Europe and going through that. So, when you grow up with that, you're never going to forget that. And then in 2010, my car broke down 3 hours north of LA, and a tow truck driver that came to pick me up opened up to me on the drive. And I don't think, I spoke much during that drive. And he had opened up about, his marriage and financial issues. And then he got into all the medications he was on. And then he got into the fact that he had just gotten back from his last deployment only 2 years. And he was struggling. And I thought to myself, there must be more people like him. And so that summer in 2011, that following year, I committed to going on to a road trip with my co-star Matt Dallas to uncover the truth. And sure enough, there wasn't just more people like him. There was hundreds, there was thousands, there were millions.
How many people, veterans, do you think you spoke to over that road trip total? That's estimate.
Hundreds. Yeah, and then I role-played with doctors at the John Dingell VA Medical Center in Detroit. It was very fortunate. They gave me a custodian's office to work out of, and for years I would go back and I would kind of be a fly on the wall. So I got to see everything there, from the sublime to the grotesque and everything in between. And I feel like our film was a very fair representation of that. And I think we're very fair also to the VA. I mean, we've been in some states been endorsed by them because this film is about doing the work. It is about post-traumatic growth and it is about the metaphorical wolf at your door.
So where along the process during this road trip and talking to the vets, how far into that did the idea come, like, oh, this is a screenplay? Like, when did you feel comfortable, like, well, this is a story I can write?
I knew it was a screenplay in the months leading up to the road trip after meeting the tow truck driver. And I had already been writing in my journal an outline, but it was more therapy for me because I was, I watched the invasion, we all did, live in 2003, right? And that was in the advent of Yahoo updates, where you'd get internet cable and you would get updates from the first casualties, American casualties, and so on. And I remember at the time I just moved to LA and I was crippled by it. I didn't leave my house. I couldn't believe, because my grandfather had said, the next war that we have will be by pushing buttons. It wouldn't be boots on the ground, and he was wrong, unfortunately. And so I, that stuck with me for so long that I guess it's always just stayed with me.
So you play one of the parts in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Was that always from the beginning? The goal is that you're going to be in the film.
So having a background in acting, I'm laughing because I've played a wide array of characters. For me, in the beginning, I think I was writing it with myself in mind, and then as you go through the journey of financing and trying to get it made, it was never a vanity project. So I was prepared to step aside and see what may come. But I was adamant that anyone that was going to play my role of Calvin, you couldn't do like a month of research, and that's what it would have been. And I knew what I had seen, what I had sat in front of, and that's what you see on the screen. And so, I'm not saying I would do it again, because I feel like this movie's lightning in a bottle, but I feel like we stuck the landing.
So I'm curious, since you started this journey, 13 years ago, and you had yourself in mind for a role, you were a lot younger then. You probably a kid. Mm-hmm. Now it's 13 years later. You start filming. Yeah. Did the process change? Did the script change? Did the character development change?
I appreciate you asking this, because this is a well thought out question, and here's why. It sure did. Because as we got older, the characters got older. And I remember I was on a flight from Helsinki back to the U.S. It was like a 12-hour flight, and I had this epiphany sitting beside my wife, and it was during the height of COVID, and everyone's coughing on the plane and all this, and no one's sleeping, and I think I got it on the plane, and I said, and this is like 5 years ago, and I said, I'm older, Calvin's older. And I began to do major rewrites on it where like Calvin had a family, because it was going to allude in the film and one of the original drafts of like that was sort of there, but I was like, no, I want to see him be a father. I want to see the man he was before we show you everything in the present. And so and that was the same for Matt Dallas. And I will say this too, we took it even further, where Matt Dallas gained 47 pounds for the part. And the reason he did that was because of a lot of the research that we did. We found that you would have people that would eat their pain, you would have people that would not eat, would not have an appetite at all. I mean, there's so many different variables, and not everybody has a side effect of what they've experienced in their service and so on. But a majority of the people that we sat in front of, and we were, honoring that. And so his weight and his age and him being heavier, he breathed differently. He moved around a space differently. And I think that really comes through in the performance of the authenticity, because it was trying to get further away. And for me, because I was actually the way it was scripted, that I was going to be the character that was overweight. And because of the stress, the 2 years leading up to it, when we were finally getting traction to make it, I couldn't keep food down. And I was having a hard time. I was so stressed out. And I called Matt, and I'm like, hey, man, like, I'm having a problem here, man. Like, I'm down to like a 30 waist, and like, I don't, I'm a basket case, and we're getting close to production, and I can't turn this around. Like, it's just going to be what it is. And he was in a drive-through of like a fast food joint. He was going to get a salad. He ended up getting the Super Size Me Everything, and that was like 4 months before filming.
So besides you and Matt Dallas, you have an amazing cast led by the great Vondie Curtis Hall. My 80s crush, Virginia Madsen's in your film. Talk about those two, what it was like to direct them, and how what they brought to the film in terms of their acting abilities and playing their characters. Sure.
I'll start with Virginia first. So the interesting thing with Virginia is that I met her on the red carpet in 2005, January, Critics' Choice Awards. Our film, The Five People You Meet in Heaven, which was a TV movie, was nominated. And she was nominated that year from the year before for Sideways. So picture me on a red carpet. Nobody cares to talk to me. I'm beside Jamie Foxx, who's nominated for Ray in Virginia. And I remember chatting with her, and I remember being mesmerized, especially by that speech we all love, in Sideways, and I always thought to myself, God, it'd be so great to work together one day, and so on. So 20 years later, here we are, and she was absolutely perfect for the role. And I'm not at liberty to like go in too much about her own personal journey, because I think that that's best for her to talk about it. But she has been unfortunately touched by some of the issues that her own character struggles with in the film. And my job as her director and scene partner was to protect her, to support her, to make her feel safe. And I feel like because of that, I feel like you get the performance, what you see on the screen, and we're very fortunate. Vondie Curtis Hall, boy oh boy, my man, he's unbelievable. There are scenes I share with him where when you know magic is happening, there's not a mic in front of you, right? There's not a boom over your head. There's not everyone's breathing that's all around you. You're just it's right here, right? And I had those moments with many of the cast, but with Vondie, he has this speech he says on the front lawn of my character's house that's just so riveting, and his performance is just stunning. And I remember fighting tears because I knew if I start crying in this scene, I'll distract from this incredible, but he was making me feel that way. And sometimes you have to let go to the character, to whatever, but that's the profoundness of his delivery of those words that I wrote, that nobody else could have said them the way Mr. Hall said them. And he's a godsend, and I'm so grateful. And
besides being a wonderful actor, he's got a lot of directing experience himself. He's directed many great episodes of television. So as a director, when he's an actor who's also a director, does that make it easier, do you think, because he knows what it's like to direct scenes, so he's kind of in his own little mindset as with a director's eye?
It's really tough because I've heard like so many different things of like actor directors and how they're sometimes tougher as an actor when they come on a set because they expect a certain thing and so on. And I want to be really honest, like I knew I was going to be fortunate enough to be a part of his legacy with this film, like from the first day of filming. But it was in the first rehearsal I had with him, he had it. And we were able to get in there, and you know, as the great Chris Cooper said about working with Meryl Streep, like make great jazz. And so my job by the time like when we got to set was just to, you know, the basics of like reminding him where we are in the story, because you shoot out a sequence. But he had the character, like he understood, like, and so there were just like sort of little tweaks because it really was allowing him, like allowing the man to sing, right? Allowing him to be, you know, the great Vondie Curtis Hall. And I will say he was a dream to work with. I mean, he was probably one of the crew favorites, and everybody, you know, and I when I get to see him sometimes in the film festival circuit, it's just such a joy because he's just such a beautiful human being.
So the film's out there now. You started your festival tour. It's on paper. It's doing quite well. You're getting a lot of awards. What's this experience been like, taking it out, showing it to people? What's the reaction from audiences been besides the festival wins? It's
surreal. Like everyone always asks me in Q&As, like, what's the hardest part? You know, the hardest part for me was like trying to get this right. And like, and you take something on like this, there's like a great responsibility. And that's why it's not like, oh, let's make a movie about veterans. Like, you know, like I live to die for this film. And so seeing the reactions from audiences that we've seen across the country so far on the film festival circuit, seeing Vietnam veterans, like their response, and OIF and OEF guys and mental health workers, again, first responders, Gold Star family members. That's the most gratifying thing about this, all of this. It's like I could walk away now. Like I wouldn't have to make another film. I feel what we're seeing on the front lines is just so profound, and it means everything to us. And I truly mean this when I say this, that if we can save a single life with this film, it'll be the greatest Hollywood success story. And so, we continue on the film festival circuit this year. We're working on a theatrical release for the fall. But it's been such a blessing. And coming to a place like Omaha, I'll be so, curious to see, because every audience is different. They've all been amazing, but everybody has a different story. And I'm always so fascinated to hear what it is in the film that, like we were in Naples last year, and we had a World War II veteran stop me in the aisle of the theater and wept in my arms and whispered in my ear, "Thank you." I've had Vietnam veterans in Sedona stand up and just a few words say, "You nailed it," and sit back down. Like, that means everything to us, because that was our why. That's why we embarked on this journey. So when people ask, how could you have done this for 13 years? It's because we couldn't get the men and women that we sat in front of all conflicts, of all generations, out of our heads. And we felt like we owed it to them to see this through.
So if people want to see where it's playing at upcoming festivals, is there a website that they can go to?
Yeah, so sheepdogthemovie.com has all of our festival dates. If you sign up for updates, you will be the first to see the trailer. That's another thing, a quirky thing. Like, we've been on the festival circuit. We've sold out. We've been very blessed to sell out every city we've gone to, and we've done that without a trailer. It's been all word of mouth. It's been all of our community outreach, our veteran outreach. So we feel very blessed. So sheepdogthemovie.com, and it has all of our social media, and we'd be humbled and grateful for you to follow our journey.
So the film is called Sheepdog. Keep an eye out for it. Check out their website. This is Steven Grayhm, and stay tuned to Cherry the Geek TV for more coverage here at the 20th Annual Omaha Film Festival.